Hi, I'm Gillian and welcome to the show. I offer spiritual growth for the rebel soul, guiding you through the labyrinth of your own ascension path. This show is for the rebel souls that challenge the status quo, those that crave authenticity in every single aspect of their lives, that desire to embrace their uniqueness, follow their passions, connect to their soul and live according to who they truly are, even if that means having the courage to go against the grain or the norms of society. If that's you, my spiritual soul seeker, rebel warrior, then this is the place for you. On this podcast, we speak about everything from spirituality, sexuality, conscious relationships, business, and literally everything in between. So if that's your jam, then stay tuned. And go on, be a rebel and subscribe. You know you want to. Hello lovelies, welcome back. So today I'm going to talk about a question that came up with one of my students in the reading room. And I think it's a really important question actually because, and one that any developing psychic, medium, intuitive, healer, or honestly anyone that is receiving intuitive information at all, it's an important question to ask. So one of my students asked whether we could do a session on the Akashic Records. Now, on the surface, obviously that's a very straightforward question, right? But what I found really fascinating was when I asked her what she wanted from the Akashic Records reading, like why that specifically, she kind of was like, okay, I want to know my soul blueprint and my purpose and my lessons and spiritual growth. And I said to her, I'm like, you know you're already doing that, right? Because this particular student has already picked up past lives. She's already picked up soul lessons. She's already picked up karmic themes. She's already received information about her gifts, her sitter's gifts, purpose, spiritual growth, plus so many other things. And it got me thinking about something a little bit deeper, right? So when people are actually asking to get information from the Akashic Records, like what are they actually asking for? And underneath that real question, it was really, where is this information coming from? And if we're honest, a lot of the psychic development that you may have experienced yourself, if you're in this journey, is really on focusing on how to receive information, right? How to see, hear, feel, know. But I don't know how much time is actually spent on exploring the source. And this is where, I love detail. I love nuances when it comes to my teachings and my work. And it becomes really interesting for me, right? Like whenever I get questions like this, I will often build something really nuanced for my students because it's what they need right now. Because receiving information is one thing. It's like one part of the coin of this journey to developing your skill set. But understanding what you're connected to is another. Because all of my years of doing this work, what I have seen is that a lot of developing psychics struggle with trusting the information that they're getting, trusting the information that's already coming through. And one of the reasons that they struggle to trust it is because they don't understand where they believe the information is coming from. I mean, it's almost like, because they're not getting evidence, right? Like, and when we don't trust it, this is a lesson in trusting without evidence. And it's honestly one of the biggest blocks that we have on our psychic development journey, getting the information and not trusting it. And in some cases, even when you're being validated by your sitter, you're getting the evidence and you're getting the confirmation through by the sitter, you can still not trust the information that's coming through because that just takes time. I don't even know how much programming we've had as humans around not trusting ourselves, outsourcing our truth to everything outside of ourselves, outsourcing our knowledge to everything outside of ourselves, relying on evidence instead of the things that we just feel, know, sense, hear, see. It's literally been ingrained into us since birth, and especially for this client, right, who has a lot of her challenges are around trust. So of course this was going to come up for her because it was almost like, okay, I'm not trusting what's coming through, even though it's being validated and confirmed by evidence from my sitters. But actually, maybe what I need to trust it is to know where it's coming from, right? So it's just layers, right? So just think about it. If I just knew something about somebody, or I started to feel like this feeling of sadness in my chest, or I saw like an image of a lighthouse, or just a phrase or like lyrics just pop up in my mind, like my own thoughts. First, right, you would question what it is, right? You would be like, okay, what is this? But then the more advanced question is, okay, who does this belong to? Where is it coming from? Why am I receiving it? Because those are three completely different questions. And the first thing I want you to understand is that the information that you are getting intuitively itself doesn't tell you the source. Like when you are in a reading, oftentimes it's not gonna say this is coming from this. And this is where people, when you are developing, you're gonna get tripped up, right? So say I got the message, you need to trust yourself. Okay, well, that message could theoretically come from that person's higher self, a spirit guide, a passed on loved one, the collective consciousness, that person's subconscious mind, the different layers of their energy field, their emotional layer, their mental layer, their physical layer. It could be an ancestral pattern it's coming from. It could be, my own pattern recognition. Ultimately the message is the same, but the source might not be. And I think that's why a lot of people on this journey just get very attached to labels sometimes, because they want to know, was that my guide? Was that the Akashic Records? Was that source? Was that my higher self? Was that spirit? And to be honest, the truth is sometimes we don't actually know. There are so many things about this journey that we aren't 100% sure about. What we do know is that information came in. That's what we do know, right? And then our human mind, of course, starts to try and categorize it. It likes to put things in little labeled details. But I just want you to think about this as a concept. What if the information that you're getting, what if that source of where you're getting that information isn't always separate? Just what, if some of these things overlap? So just think of it like the ocean, okay? Just imagine yourself standing on a beautiful beach, and you can just point to a wave and go, that's a wave. Yes, that's true. But it's also the ocean. You can point to another wave and say, that's a different wave. But it is still the ocean. So, just what if, guys? What if our spirit guides, our higher self, the collective consciousness, the Akashic Records, soul wisdom, intuitive knowing, what if they are all different expressions of a much larger field of consciousness? Because sometimes I think maybe we spend a little bit too much time trying to identify the label, and you forget to pay attention to the quality of the information. And that's what I teach my students. So instead of asking, who is this? You can try asking, okay, what does this feel like? Because different sources have different textures, right? For example, when I'm reading someone's current energy field, it can feel more personal, more emotional. I can feel what's happening to them right now. I can feel what's frustrating them. I can feel what's blocking them. I can feel what they're avoiding. It's detailed. It's close. It's very immediate, because that is their energy field is very immediate, right? Then you compare it to maybe what comes through when, if you're accessing someone's higher self, right? Higher self information. It can feel a little bit different. It can feel maybe less emotional, a little bit cleaner, more direct. It's kind of again, nuances. It's just kind of a truth that cuts through a bit of the noise. And sometimes that message is not what someone wants to hear, but there's this feeling of certainty around it, right? For me, sometimes when I'm doing higher self work, it can feel very educational. It can sometimes feel like someone's being taught something. A lot of the information is on growth, right? It's on perspective, it's on lessons, it's on expansion, more concerned with someone's evolution. But it can also come with emotionality and love and support too, right? So it's really different. When I am tuning into someone's spirit guides, they can come through with a very distinct personality. I will see them in a very distinct way. I mean, now it's different, right? So I'm trying to make it make sense to when you're developing. Now I get told exactly what it is for a particular reason, which I'm going to go into in a bit. But when you're learning, again, just noticing the different nuances is really key, right? Because again, it's all about discernment. And then you've got, the Akashic Records, right? Soul level information, past lives, soul contracts, recurring themes, karmic patterns, your life purpose, soul gifts, all of that stuff. And what's interesting is that when you are developing your abilities, it's really, again, it's just common to assume that accessing this, like my student did, right? She was basically alluding to the fact that she thought that she needed some kind of different ability or some kind of different process to access that information. But she'd already accessed it in readings before, but we just weren't calling it the Akashic Records. So I'm just going to ask you, like, does it need a completely different ability? Or are you just asking different questions? So imagine I'm sitting down with someone, right? And I'm asking, what is happening in their life right now? I get the information. Then I ask, why is this happening? I get more deeper information. Then I ask, where did this pattern begin? Then let's say a childhood memory starts to come up, or an ancestral theme comes up, or a past life comes up. Okay, cool. Then I ask, what is the soul trying to learn? Now I'm receiving soul level information. So did anything change with that? Did my psychic ability change? Did I set the intention just to channel the Akashic Records? No. What changed was the question changed. And therefore that changed the depth. The intention itself changed because of the question. That is it. And that's something that I realize a lot of people, but also my client, it's where maybe people are getting misunderstood about the Akashic Records, because they're like, oh, it has to be a different way. Like, I'm looking for this doorway or this library or this staircase, this record keeper, and it's going to give me access to different information. And don't get me wrong, going through those visuals can be a beautiful experience. Like, those visualizations are really beautiful. They can help you shift your state. They can help you focus and trust. But they are just access points, in my opinion. They are access points. And, we can use this in different ways, right? Different landscapes, gardens, beaches. It is just helping someone to shift into a deeper state and set the intention to access psychic information, right? So what if they are just access points? What if they're not the information, its actual self? So like in this case, when she was like, I want to learn how to access the Akashic Records. And then I'm like, but you've already done readings on past lives. You've already picked up someone's soul lesson. You've already done readings about karmic relationship patterns. We've already done this, but we weren't calling it the Akashic Records. And then it's like, what exactly do you believe the Akashic Records contain that you're already not accessing? Like, that's a genuine question. Because again, it's like sometimes, especially when we are still not trusting the information that's coming through, we're looking for this like grand spiritual experience when we're already doing the fucking thing, but we're just calling it something else. Now, here's maybe where my perspective has changed on this over the years, because like when I first started developing my gifts, like, sure, I was kind of more fascinated with the source as well, right? It was like, okay, because I didn't have access to it. It's like now I know what the source is because that's taken time and developing my abilities to know what the source is. I'm told what the source is. I see what the source is. And it has context, right? And this is the difference. But when I started, I didn't have that skill yet. So, was that a spirit guide? Was that passed on loved one? Was that higher self? Was that the Akashic Records? And it's a very natural stage of your development, honestly. So it doesn't surprise me that my student asked me that question, because you're trying to understand what's happening and you're trying to trust, again, trying to get more validation. And sometimes the lesson for you when you're so focused on that is to just trust. Just trust that you know what you fucking know. But the longer that I've done this work, the less interested that I've become in kind of any kind of spiritual labels, right? And I'm really more interested in like, okay, why am I being shown something? You know, for example, when I am doing a reading, right? Now, again, like I said, I can tell the difference between a passed on loved one, a spirit guide, an ancestor, a childhood wound, a past life, something that's sitting in someone's energy field or their emotional field. I know exactly what that is. And that level of discernment, just like I said, it comes with time. It comes with recognizing what feels different. You know, I'm not sitting there analyzing it to death. It just comes in differently. I just experience it differently. You know, and to be fair, again, in my work today, I'm just told what it is. You know, like spirit guides I'll just be told what it is. I'll see them. I'll know exactly who they are. I will feel them in a certain area, usually kind of to the side and behind me, versus if it's someone's passed on loved one, versus if it's a past life. I can see that very clearly. And again, I ask questions. I discern by asking questions. Is this a past life? Why is that coming up? Etc. etc. You know, rather than just you're hearing something or seeing something. Of course, when you're developing, you haven't learned those discernment skills or those questioning skills yet to discern what that source is. And again, that just comes with time. That comes with mastering your craft. That comes with having the support to help you understand your nuances and the details. And that's what I feel like I am very good at. And the reason, okay, and this is where again, I'm not saying analyzing the source. The source will come to me in a reading because it is important to the reading. Okay, so let me explain. So the reason that I know whether it's a passed on loved one that's coming through or childhood wound or whatever it is because that very piece of information, that very thing changes the meaning of the message. Okay, so if someone's grand step forward, that is important. If I am shown a childhood memory from the age of 7, that is important. If I'm shown an ancestral pattern running through 4 generations of women, that is important. If I am shown a past life where the same lesson was being learned, that is important because it changes the context. It changes the whole healing and the guidance of that whole reading for a person. You know, what's not important is me sitting there questioning if that piece of information came from the Akashic Records, because just that alone doesn't change anything, right? It doesn't change the message itself, does it? It doesn't change what the client needs to hear, what the root is, what needs to heal. The client's not sitting there thinking in our reading, oh, I really hope Gillian can tell me which spiritual database this information came from. No. They're thinking, okay, why the fuck do I feel stuck? Why do I keep repeating the same shit pattern? How do I move forward? What is blocking me? What do I need to know? What are my gifts? All the things. And that's what the reading is there to answer. And this is where maybe you can get a little bit accidentally distracted by like, okay, I need to know the source. You don't need to know the source for the sources. You need to know the source if that's important to the context of the reading. You know, for example, right? Like if I'm accessing the galactic beings for one of my clients, I'll take this as an example, right? For one of my clients, she's supposed to be working very much with the galactics, right? So of course the galactic beings were coming through for her. They don't come through for all of my clients. They came through for her because that was supposed to download and access something for her because this is part of her soul mission. Okay? So there was a reason that I needed to know where that information was coming from because she's meant to work with them. But again, this is why it's so easy, especially when you just still don't trust yourself, to become fascinated. Like almost, again, trying to get that evidence and that proof with where the source comes from instead of just trusting the information that's coming through. You know, so imagine someone showing you a photograph, right? Would you be like, oh, what drawer was that photograph stored in? Or what what shelf is that on? And that, whilst that could be interesting, it's not the most It's not the first or the most useful question that you might ask, right? A more useful question would be, okay, what is that photograph showing me? And it's just how psychic information works, right? Like, the source totally does matter when it changes the meaning and when it provides actual context, or when it helps me to understand why I am seeing what I'm seeing. But beyond that, I am following the intelligence of the reading. I am following the thread. I am asking things like, why is this being shown? Why does this matter? What is it trying to teach us? Because ultimately, the purpose of the reading is not just to identify where the information came from. The purpose is to help somebody like understand themselves more deeply or transform something. And this is just the messy middle, right? When you're developing psychic and then you become an experienced reader, it's that messy middle. And that just comes with time, that comes with experience, that comes with having the right support to help you understand your nuances and putting in the reps. Remember, fucking Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was your psychic skill set. And this is then when, this nice segue into building that skill set. And you can only do that when you learn good discernment skills. And it's a skill set, right? Again, all of this is a skill set. Because I do believe that discernment is one of the most underrated psychic skills that is being taught. Because it's not just about receiving information. Everybody is receiving intuitive information. Every single person on this planet, whether they know that or not, they are. It's the ability to ask questions and discern the source and the information. That is the important thing. Because, of course, now I'm being told, or I can see exactly what that source is, like where my information is coming from and the relevance to the sitter. But back in the day when I was developing, I was just picking up information. I didn't know where it was coming from. I didn't have that skill yet. I didn't have the ability to ask those questions yet. I was just waiting for information to pop in. I wasn't leading it. I wasn't leading it with questions. So learning to ask questions, you literally become a little psychic detective, right? This is why, again, asking questions is one of the key areas that I work with my clients and my students on, because that's going to help you learn discernment. That's going to help you take the lead and not just being in the passenger seat of your read. And again, that just comes with time and nuance. So ask the questions, right? What am I connected to? What level is this coming from? Who does this belong to? What evidence do I have that this is the source? Because you might, and again, this is a process, again, the messy middle, right? Where you might get some information and then you immediately just go, oh, you assign it to a source. Oh, that's this. And then you build an entire story around it, but you actually haven't investigated it yet. And investigating whilst you're developing your skills is key, and you can only do that through asking questions. Even, in fact, investigating now, even as a professional, is still key. So what if you became more curious, right? What if we approached psychic information like little detectives? I love anything detective-y. So instead of maybe like assuming, if you are not distinctly being told that it is a guide or a past life or this or this or this, and you are at a stage where you trust it because you know your channel really well, then ask the question. Okay, well, what makes me think this is my guide? What evidence do I have that this is my guide? You can ask, is this my guide? What guide is it? If it's not my guide, who or what is it? What am I actually connected to right now? There are literally so many questions you can ask to get more information. Because when you start exploring more questions, of course your development deepens, right? You're going to get more information. The more curious you become, the stronger your discernment becomes. The stronger your discernment comes, the more confident you're going to be. You're going to trust yourself more, right? And then you start to notice the nuances. You start to notice the different textures, the different energetic signatures. You start noticing the different layers of consciousness that you're already accessing. They feel different. So that's how I know now exactly what messages from my guide versus what is a passed on loved one versus what was a belief that's formed in childhood versus everything else. And I get that information in the times where knowing that information is important for me to know as part of the reading and the context. Like, that is how you get detailed. You know, and maybe more importantly, like, through all of this process, then you maybe kind of start to realize that you don't always need to know the exact label. Sometimes what actually matters more than anything is like, okay, is this information helpful? Is it true? Is it accurate? Is it evidential? Is it useful? Is it loving? Because, you know, that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to receive information that creates greater understanding, greater levels of healing, greater awareness, greater connection, all those things for your client. So you, again, next time a message comes through, maybe before you ask, what does this mean? Maybe just ask instead, okay, where might this be coming from? You know, because again, the psychic development is just not about learning how to receive. It's learning how to ask questions. It's learning how to discern. And those are individual skill sets in itself. And that is where you become really, really good. That is where your psychic skills become really, really interesting. And that is how you get paid really well for doing the job that you came here to do. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I love you guys lots. And I will see you in the next episode.